They tell me I'm a clone, a blank slate designed for a perfect future. But every time I close my eyes, I remember a life that legally doesn't exist.
Accessing archive file. Series. Future confession tapes. Personal transmission received. Some truths aren't meant to be remembered.
They tell me my name is Ilara 7. They tell me I was decanted 3 years ago. A perfect genetic replica, designed for a specific purpose within the Solarian collective. My designation, the number etched subtly into the skin just behind my left ear, confirms it. Ilara 7. It's neat, efficient, and utterly devoid of the sprawling, chaotic tapestry of memories that unfurl behind my eyes every time I close them. Those memories, you see, don't belong to Ilara 7. They belong to someone else entirely. Someone named Ilara. I sit here in my assigned dwelling unit, the soft hum of the air filtration system, a constant lullaby. Outside, the cityscape of Neo-Veridia stretches, a symphony of glowing hydroponic towers and silent, gliding sky vehicles. It's a marvel of bioengineered efficiency, a testament to humanity's triumph over the great exhaustion. Every citizen has their place, their purpose, their meticulously cataloged identity. And my identity, Ilara 7, is to serve as a bioengineer specializing in atmospheric reclamation, a crucial role in maintaining Neo-Veridia's delicate ecological balance. I've excelled at it, of course. My hands move with an innate understanding of the complex machinery. My mind grasps the intricate algorithms with effortless precision. It's as if the knowledge was simply downloaded. But then there are the other downloads, the ones that come unbidden, unrequested, and entirely unsanctioned. I remember the scent of salt air, sharp and bracing, not the recycled, filtered air of Neo-Veridia. I remember the feel of warm, gritty sand between my toes, not the smooth, cool synth flooring of my unit. I remember a small wooden boat painted a peeling blue, rocking gently on an endless, sparkling ocean. And a man, his face weathered by sun and laughter lines around kind eyes, teaching me how to tie a fisherman's knot. His name, I remember his name. It was Silas, and he was my father. My assigned genetic parents, according to my official records, are a pair of esteemed collective scientists. Their profiles pristine, their contributions to society meticulously documented. They visit me on scheduled intervals, their expressions polite, their conversations focused on my progress and the collective's welfare. They are pleasant, professional, and utterly unfamiliar. There's no echo of Silas's warm, calloused hand in theirs. No hint of the easy, comfortable silence we used to share, just the quiet hum of their approval. The conflict then is this. I am Ilara 7, a product of the collective, a blank slate imprinted with purpose. But I'm also Ilara, a ghost in the machine, haunted by a life that was lived, a life that felt real, vibrant, and deeply personal. The collective's official stance on clones is clear. We are new beings, unburdened by the past, free to forge our own destinies within the framework of their carefully constructed utopia. Any anomalous memory recall is dismissed as a neurological glitch, a minor imperfection in the replication process, easily remedied with a gentle neural repatterning. I've been offered the repatterning, of course. A simple procedure, they say, to smooth out the kinks, to align my internal landscape with my external reality. But how can I erase the taste of sun-warmed berries, the sting of a scraped knee on rough pavement, the sound of a lullaby sung in a voice that was undeniably my mother's? How can I discard the love, the joy, the small heartbreaks that shaped Ilara? These aren't glitches. They are the very fabric of a life, woven with threads of emotion and experience. And the more I try to reconcile Ilara 7's existence with Ilara's memories, the more the two diverge, creating a chasm within me that grows wider with each passing day. I'm afraid, truly afraid, of what will happen if I admit the truth. That I'm a clone, but I remember the life of the original. And that life, the one that legally doesn't exist, feels more real than anything in my present. The fear, a cold knot in my stomach, was a constant companion. It wasn't just the fear of the neural repatterning, though the thought of losing these precious, illicit memories was a dull ache. It was the fear of being wrong, of being broken, of being an anomaly in a society that valued perfect order above all else. I started to seek out information, subtly at first, through the collective's vast data nets. My official access as a bioengineer was extensive, but it was also carefully monitored. I learned to navigate the labyrinthine digital archives, searching for any mention of anomalous memory transfer or pre-decantation recall. The results were sparse, often buried under layers of classified reports, but they were there. Whispers of other clones, other Ilaras, perhaps, who had experienced similar phenomena. But always, the conclusion was the same. A glitch, a malfunction, requiring immediate corrective action. My work in atmospheric reclamation became a strange sort of refuge. The vast, intricate mechanisms of the air purifiers, the delicate balance of the biofilters, the rhythmic pulse of the nutrient pumps, they were tangible, predictable, unlike my own mind. One cycle, a particularly stubborn filtration array in sector gamma, required direct, hands-on calibration. It was deep within the lower levels of Neo-Veridia, a place rarely visited by anyone outside of maintenance crews. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and something else, something earthy and damp, a smell that stirred a faint, unsettling echo of a memory I couldn't quite grasp. As I worked, my fingers tracing the cool metal conduits, a flicker of an image surfaced. Not a clear memory, but a sensation. The feeling of cool, damp earth beneath my bare feet. A whisper of wind through tall, rustling leaves. It was so fleeting, so indistinct, that I almost dismissed it. But then, my gaze fell upon a small, almost imperceptible etching on a forgotten service panel. It was a symbol, a stylized wave breaking over a single, upright line. It was the same symbol Silas had carved into the wooden handle of his fishing knife, a symbol I remembered with absolute clarity. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't a glitch. This was a connection. The discovery ignited a new kind of fire within me, a desperate need to understand. I began to spend my off-cycle hours not in my dwelling, but in the forgotten corners of the data nets, cross-referencing old cartographic projections with the collective's current urban plans. I looked for discrepancies, for places where the old world might still bleed through into the new. It was a dangerous game. Every search query, every access log was a digital breadcrumb leading back to me. My assigned parents, ever observant, noticed a subtle shift in my routine, a new intensity in my gaze. They inquired politely about my focus, suggesting I might be overworking myself. I offered vague assurances, citing a complex new atmospheric model I was developing. They accepted it, their expressions unreadable. The greatest challenge wasn't the technical difficulty of my clandestine research, but the emotional toll it took. The more I delved into the past, the more real Ilara became, and the more distant Ilara 7 felt. I started to notice the small, subtle differences in my physical self. A faint scar on my left knee, a memory of a fall from a gnarled tree, was mirrored on my clone body. But it felt like a copy, not the original. My reflection in the polished synth steel of my dwelling unit seemed to shimmer, sometimes, as if another face was superimposed over my own. I was a living paradox, a memory walking in a borrowed body. The loneliness was profound. How could I explain this to anyone? Who would believe me? And if they did, what then? The collective did not tolerate deviations. My very existence as Ilara was a deviation. The symbol, that simple wave and line, became my obsession. It wasn't just a memory, it was a key. My research intensified, pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable data access. I found fragmented historical records, long-buried geological surveys, and even archaic maritime charts. Piece by piece, a forgotten world began to emerge from the digital dust. The symbol, I discovered, was an ancient marker used by pre-exhaustion coastal communities to denote safe harbors, places where the land met the sea in a specific protective embrace. It was tied to a place, a real place, not a figment of a malfunctioning neural pathway. The coordinates were vague at first, obscured by centuries of tectonic shift and urban sprawl. But with each cross-reference, each obscure data point I unearthed, the location sharpened. It pointed to a region now deep beneath Neo-Veridia's lowest sectors, a place designated as Restricted Zone 4, subcrustal instability. Officially, it was an area prone to seismic activity, sealed off for the safety of the collective. Unofficially, I suspected it was a burial ground, a place where the old world had been deliberately paved over, its memories suppressed. The air in my dwelling unit felt heavier now, the hum of the filtration system a mocking reminder of the artificiality of my existence. My assigned parents' polite inquiries became more frequent, their gazes sharper, lingering a moment too long. I knew I was being watched. The collective's surveillance was omnipresent, subtle, yet absolute. Every data query, every unusual pattern in my energy consumption, every deviation from my meticulously scheduled routine was logged. The net was tightening. One cycle, a message appeared in my internal comlink, a standard directive from Central Command. It was a summons for a mandatory wellness review, scheduled for the following solar cycle. The term was innocuous, but the underlying threat was palpable. Wellness reviews for clones with anomalous memory recall rarely ended with a clean bill of health. They ended with repatterning. My time was running out. A desperate plan began to form in my mind. A reckless, illogical impulse born of a lifetime of forgotten memories. I needed to go to that place. The place where the wave symbol marked the land. The place where Alara had lived. It was a gamble, a direct defiance of collective law. But the thought of losing Alara, of having her memories wiped clean, was a far greater terror than any punishment they could inflict on Alara 7. My bioengineering skills, once a tool of the collective, became my means of escape. I began to subtly alter the atmospheric flow in my sector, creating minute, unnoticeable fluctuations that would require my personal attention in the lower levels. It was a delicate dance, a slow, methodical manipulation of systems designed for perfect efficiency. I needed a window, a brief moment of unsupervised access to restricted Zone 4. The day of the wellness review dawned, the synthetic sunlight filtering through my dwelling unit's viewport with a cold, clinical precision. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the quiet hum of the city. I had activated the atmospheric anomaly an hour before, a minor pressure imbalance that would trigger an alert in Sector Gamma. It was enough to buy me time, enough to create a diversion. I received the automated directive to report to the medical bay, but simultaneously, an urgent work order flashed across my personal console. Critical atmospheric fluctuation. Sector Gamma. Bioengineer Alara 7 required for immediate recalibration. The collective's efficiency, ironically, became my salvation. They prioritized system stability above all else. I was granted temporary override codes for restricted access, a necessary evil to address the critical issue. My journey through the lower levels was a blur of flashing service lights and the rhythmic thrum of unseen machinery. The air grew heavier, cooler, carrying that faint, earthy scent that tugged at the edges of my forgotten self. I bypassed automated security checkpoints, my override codes granting me passage deeper and deeper into the forgotten layers of Neo-Veridia. The synth steel walls gave way to rough-hewn rock, the pristine surfaces replaced by damp, ancient stone. The air was thick with the smell of decay and something else, something wild and alive, a scent that made my clone heart ache with a profound, unexplainable longing. Finally, I reached the entrance to Restricted Zone 4. A heavy, reinforced blast door sealed shut, bearing the ominous warning, "No entry, extreme instability." But etched into the cold metal, almost invisible beneath layers of grime and rust, was the faint outline of the wave symbol. This was it. This was where Alara had lived. My hands trembled as I input the override codes, the faint whirring of the ancient mechanism echoing in the cavernous space. The blast door groaned, a low, guttural sound, and slowly, agonizingly began to retract, revealing a darkness beyond. The air that rushed out was thick with the scent of salt and damp earth, a primal aroma that filled my lungs and settled deep within my bones. It was the scent of home. The darkness beyond the blast door was absolute, a heavy, suffocating void that swallowed the faint glow of my utility lamp. But the scent, that intoxicating blend of salt and damp earth, pulled me forward. I stepped into the unknown, my boots crunching on what felt like loose rubble. The air was thick, humid, and tasted of something ancient, something wild. It was nothing like the sterile, recycled air of Neo-Veridia. It was the breath of a forgotten world. My lamp beam cut through the gloom, revealing a narrow, winding passage. The walls were not the smooth synth rock of the collective's construction, but rough, uneven stone, worn by time and erosion. Water dripped somewhere in the distance, a slow, rhythmic plink that echoed in the vast silence. As I moved deeper, the passage widened, opening into a cavernous space. My lamp struggled to illuminate its full extent, but I could make out immense, organic shapes, draped in what looked like centuries of dust and mineral deposits. Then, my light caught something, a glint of metal, a faint shimmer of blue. I moved closer, my heart pounding with a mixture of dread and desperate hope. There, nestled amidst the debris, was the unmistakable outline of a small wooden boat. Its paint was faded, peeling, but the distinctive blue was still visible. And on its bow, though almost entirely obscured by grime, was the faint, familiar carving of the wave symbol. Silas's boat. My father's boat. A wave of memories, sharper, more vivid than ever before, washed over me. I wasn't just remembering them, I was feeling them. The rocking of the boat on the waves, the spray of salt water on my face, the warmth of Silas's hand as he taught me to cast a net, the laughter of my mother, a bright, melodic sound as she watched us from the shore. This wasn't a glitch. This was a truth. I ran my hand along the weathered wood of the boat, tears blurring my vision. It was real. All of it. The life I remembered, the family I loved. It was history, buried beneath layers of progress and denial. As I stood there, lost in the overwhelming tide of my past, a low hum began to vibrate through the cavern. It was faint at first, then grew steadily louder. A deep, resonant thrum that seemed to shake the very foundations of the earth. The collective. They had found me. The atmospheric anomaly, the diversion, it had only bought me a fleeting moment. Panic flared, cold and sharp. I had risked everything to find this place, to confirm my truth. But what now? I couldn't stay. The blast door would soon be breached, and the neural repatterning, or worse, would be inevitable. As the hum intensified, a new memory surfaced. A desperate, fragmented image of Alara, the original, on this very boat, looking out at a turbulent, storm-tossed sea. There was a sense of urgency, of leaving, of seeking refuge. My eyes scanned the cavern, searching for anything, any way out. The hum was deafening now, the ground trembling beneath my feet. Then I saw it. Tucked away in a shadowed crevice, almost hidden by a fallen rock formation, was another symbol. Not the wave, but a series of interlocking circles. A symbol I vaguely remembered from Silas's old charts. A marker for deep sea currents, for hidden passages beneath the waves.
It was a desperate long shot, a gamble born of instinct and the raw, unyielding truth of Alara's memories. I scrambled towards the crevice, the vibrations growing violent, dust and debris raining down from the cavern ceiling. The opening was narrow, barely wide enough for me to squeeze through. I could hear the faint, metallic clang of the blast door being forced open. The distant shouts of collective security. With a final, desperate surge of adrenaline, I pushed myself through the narrow opening, scraping my skin on the rough rock. I tumbled into a dark, water-filled tunnel. The salty tang of the air, now overwhelming. The water was cold, shockingly so, but it was also moving. A strong, steady current pulling me deeper into the earth. I was submerged, disoriented, but the current was undeniable. A powerful, unseen hand guiding me. I held my breath, the darkness absolute, the roar of the water filling my ears. My lungs burned, but I refused to give in. Alara's memories, her will to survive, fueled me. I was no longer just Alara 7, the bioengineer. I was Alara, the daughter of the sea, carried by its currents, seeking a new horizon. After what felt like an eternity, the current lessened, and I felt myself being pulled upwards. My head broke the surface, gasping for air, my eyes stinging from the salt water. I was in a vast underground lake, its surface calm, reflecting the faint, phosphorescent glow of algae on the cavern walls. Above me, far above, was a narrow opening, a sliver of light filtering down from what could only be the surface. I swam towards the light, my limbs aching, but a new kind of strength coursing through me. The climb was arduous, slippery, but with each handhold, each upward struggle, I felt Alara 7 fading, and Alara, the true Alara, emerging. I was shedding the artificiality, embracing the raw, untamed essence of my original self. Finally,
I pulled myself through the opening, collapsing onto a patch of damp, mossy earth. Above me, the sky was a canvas of stars, vast and uncaring, yet profoundly beautiful. The air was crisp, cool, and filled with the scent of pine and damp earth. And in the distance, I could hear it, the gentle, rhythmic roar of the ocean. I had found it, not just a place, but a continuation. The world Elara had known, the world the collective had tried to erase, still existed. It was wild, untamed, and free. I was free. I was Elara. My past was not a glitch. It was my foundation. My memories were not anomalous. They were my identity. And though the collective would undoubtedly be searching, their reach was not absolute. There were still hidden places, forgotten corners of the world where the old ways endured, where life thrived beyond their control. I was a clone, yes, but I remembered the life of the original, and that memory had led me home. My journey was not over. It had just begun.
Disclaimer: all stories shared on this channel are entirely fictional. They are created to inspire imagination, reflection, and thoughtful dialogue about the future, our relationships, and the human experience.
Confession saved. Disconnecting signal.